The mayor so addressed the city with some good advice all around. If you're simple of mind, 'tis good to be strong of arm. To be totally candid with you, I do not believe that he personally composed this message. I figure life put him up to it. The routine emotional life of ordinary people is so flimsy and tenuous that it's almost necessary to talk about it to help hold it all together. All rats eventually drowned. Many drown before they die, and these usually want you to hold their hand. Overall, the parade is orderly, while internally it can seem otherwise. One man says he's about come to this damn near mathematical conclusion. He says, if life does want us all to become civilized, and civilization is based on rules and laws, and being civilized consists in abiding by these laws without having to think about them, then, ergo, life does not really want people thinking for themselves. Now do it. Would you like to take that one? And now for Matters Musicale, a look at our top 40 list. Coming up the charts fast, for the last 6,000 years as a matter of fact, is that hot little number entitled, Your Stomach Can't Think and Your Mind Can't Rock and Roll. Henry language, sacred words, and overview. The simple believe in mystery ships, the more conscious in mysterious cargo. Day sailors query, why did no viewers ever write to tell me, why did no viewers ever write to ask me to tell them what belief actually amounts to? Life reminds the body to stay alive through hunger, and the intellect through attention. One day in the woods, while enjoying the spring beauty of pond scum, one man paused to so reflect. Dear God has given all of his creatures brains. He's given pigs, pig brains, cows, cow brains, sheep, sheep brains, and man, human brains. But sometimes I wonder if the old deer doesn't periodically get distracted while making the distribution. Physically, a man's health is his health. Mentally, his awareness. From our How to Deal With It department. If you're asked a question and you have no idea what you're talking about, always begin your reply with a related personal anecdote. If life holds your attention, life holds you. Life reminds the body to stay alive through hunger and the intellect through attention, and attention has but one food: awareness. Oh. The less you're able to internally entertain and inform yourself, the more you must seek same from without. If physically the quality of health depends on your diet, then mentally it rests on your awareness. Well, screw you. Damn cheap paper. You ever notice how me doing the imitation of people's ordinary state of consciousness never seems to have any effect? That nobody seems to notice? Would you like to think why? And would you like to have maybe some towels or a tarpaulin put down to catch the blood when you start cutting your wrists? The mayor of one city one day had this to say: people are not dumb. People are not stupid. People are not crippled and flawed and less than they should be. Damn it, people are, well, just people. Now that's the kind of guy who will stay in office a long time. What uncontrolled attention does to consciousness is not unlike walking the dog and rocking the cradle. The legend of the peoples on this one world says that if you get to be really good friends with life, it'll let you die from whatever you want to. The legend within the legend goes on to say that life even allows a few to live whatever they want to. And yet, another description of it. A mystic is someone who won't let someone else entertain him, even if it was possible. Okay, for you advanced pushy sorts, try this one on in the first dressing room. A mystic is a guy who can't be entertained. Perhaps we took it up a bit in the length. To be under-civilized is to place too little value on human life. To be properly so is to place more value on it than you know it deserves, just like you're supposed to, if you're civilized. And now another city intelligentsia feature. If you must prove you know something, you don't know nothing. Sick. One day, on a meditative walk in the woods, a man suddenly stopped and thought, what if behind their serene exteriors, mystics are actually super aggressive? What a possibility. And behind a tree, as a more conscious lion consumed a less so gazelle, it said, so what's the point? What's the big deal? And now some health news. No one is dumber than they can be. Or perhaps that was our inspirational thought for the day. A viewer writes, would you please repeat the one you read recently that said the benefit of being really dumb is that you never realize just how really dumb you are? I don't know, I seem to have somehow misheard it the first time around. If you don't have anything original to say, you don't have anything to say. Some more black hole, myth and logic. Math and logic. Math and logic. The more conscious you become, the less interest you have in history. At first ancient, later on recent. Now for some investment news. To emotions, the past doesn't exist. That's why the intellect must invent it. According to a tale in one world, local conditions one day pulled its six-shooter and aimed them at mind's feet, threatening, if you ever do quit talking, you're going to have to start a dancing. And you know what that means. It means you'll be right back with your sorry old drinking buddies, back where I first found you. And the story concludes with the mind understanding the warning and taking it quite seriously. The martial arts, as practiced upstairs, having more flexible awareness allows one to mentally kick ass. An updating in the history of psychology. While a Russian finally trained dogs in the 20th century, life has already done so with man years ago. One man says he's come to the conclusion that civilization is not worth the paper it's written on. The same people who believe that education develops intelligence would accept the claim that Jell-O molds improves the taste of gelatin. A viewer writes, are you ever going to stop saying things that make me increasingly think man is unbelievably stupid? If so, would you please announce a date in advance so I can be sure and tune in, yours, etc. Consciousness is yours to spend. And most people divide theirs between this or that, or some variation thereof. The title of this should have been The Potential Unlimited Expenditure of Mental Wealth. Today's factual legend. Since 99% of the world can't figure out what's going on, they assume no one else can either. One of the neural advanced guard told his son, the sooner you realize that those less aware than you run the routine world, the better. And oh yeah. And that's the proper arrangement also. One day a man confided to his possum as they strolled in the mountains, you know, Vito, all of life's constructions are beautiful. But I swear to Pogo, some seem more beautiful than others. And from the peaks and valleys return this echo. Any criticism that can be made of any aspect of human existence is both justified and totally unfounded. And under his marsupial breath, Vito muttered, I knew that. A quick reminder of how, if you're civilized, to tell that you're still alive. You speak in cliches and think in gridlock. There is no such thing as specific bad advice. Advice simply being life's internal memos via man. The only real bad advice would be any that a real thinker would entertain. Much of the additional control a mystic needs over his awareness comes at the expense of animal emotions. So don't say I didn't warn you, Rover. And oh yeah, although he favors it, a mystic is by no means a friend of civilization. Those who criticize others are suffering from one of two possible ills, either simple-mindedness or poor memory. Every time that there appears some apparent attempt to encourage man, lead man to do something extraordinary, so-called mystical, secret, occult, hidden, gigantic, great, grand works throughout history. No matter what the milieu, no matter what the culture, no matter what the language, they always have one thing in common. All right, two things. All right, four things. All right, two. All right, several. They always have several things in common. That's it, several. One is the tacit part, which they usually untacit for the dancing and enjoyment pleasure of their potential audience. That is, they come right out and say it. Not once, but twice, 4 times, several times. Many times they insinuate and stick your face in the fact that men are not doing right. And you keep saying that, and you can change the sense around a little bit until you finally work up a crowd. And then you've got the beginnings, at least, of the possible beginnings of a mystical system of some kind. And if that doesn't work, of course, you can put on a funny hat and start a religion. But you start off assuming that it was an attempt to get some group of people to do something extraordinary. This great secret work, effort, adventure. So you've got to establish that. That's why I went ahead and said 2, just to remind you again, because it is not of any particular importance or significance that this is true, that part, out in life. It's true in here. It's for you to realize that you can't even get the mind going. You can't get it going in the morning. You can't get it going enough to participate in civilization being that grand. Working combination, that compromise between the body and the mind, between the physical and the intellectual. You cannot get it going without thinking that something is wrong, in the same way that you will not eat unless you are hungry. But in the same way that the body, that life makes the body stay alive, takes notice of its health by making it hungry, it does so with the mind through awareness. So you've got to be aware. You've got to announce to people, and you've got to see within your own mind that it starts off every day. The blocks that if we were looking at as being a track runner, the blocks that it has to push off from to run every morning is always, I'm hungry. That's a nice way of putting it. The cruder way is, something's not right. Therefore, I'll get out of bed and go to work. The something's not right, you can look at with all the actual examples. The potential examples are as numerous as numerous stuff. I've got to get up and go to work, or they'll come take my car away, or I'll lose my house, or they'll throw me out of my apartment, or I won't get a paycheck. There has to be some reason. You go to seek food because you're hungry. Awareness, intellectual awareness, routine consciousness is that which makes a man get out of bed, that makes the mind move. The hunger will drag the stomach to the table. Awareness, seeking nourishment, consciousness, intellectual consciousness, seeking some form of nourishment, will get up and move about. That is the given. The point I was going to make when I said one thing they all have in common, these mystical systems, is a method. So consider that all mystical systems, like anything else, first off, there has to be the general clarion cry that everybody's sort of broke, And so maybe you show up. Because you assume if somebody publicly hollers, we're all crippled and flawed, then you are just naturally assume that if they look reasonably sane, that is, they're no worse off than you are, then you assume they don't have to say anything. That's just the natural, intended assumption that they have some treatment for it, if not a cure. Or else they wouldn't say we're all flawed. You figure, well, at least the guy's as smart as I am, that he recognizes that. So you show up. Then there has to be a method. This is the supremely tricky part. All of the methods, I'll lump for you real quick, have always had to do, if you narrow them down to a kind of operational common, is they all have to do with the focusing of attention. And as far back as you can find in just available public history of, all the way from the mysteries of the Greeks and the Egyptians, many of the tales from Africa and China, even prior to that, all had to do with man in some way, or certain men, attempting to get in touch with the gods, attempting to do something extraordinary, attempting to understand the mystery of life. It was always something to do with attention. It would, of course, very shortly, if it spread at all, turn from the focusing of attention that was like a melting butter column that starts out up here, having to do with the focusing of attention. As soon as it gets a little well known, it begins to melt in the sun, and it flows out into apparent physical methods. And instead of focusing the attention, it is focus your attention physically. What does that mean? Well, be here for the meetings every Thursday at 7:30 and pray every day at such and such. It turns into physical ritual. The original, and it's still no secret, it is still there in print, and there are people who still attempt to do along such lines. It has to do with the focusing of attention. If anyone would like to protect yourself from falling into a too limited trap of this sounding as though I'm simply referring to the esoteric, religions still have that as their basis. It is no longer of any noticeable significance to those who are involved with religion, because all they want to do is it's just a hobby. But it is still, if you will listen to consider the heart of all religions and what they claim to teach, it is a focusing of the attention. Then it turns into things like worshiping God, keeping your mind on God, keeping your mind on the great goal of pleasing God, but it's all a focusing of attention. Physically, all you've got is your health. Physically, from the line of consciousness down. From here up, you got one possibility. You got one thing to feed. Down here, I call the stomach. We could call it sex and the body, the whole thing. I was just using the stomach emblematic of the whole physical survival, or the survival of a man physically. That is hunger, the stomach. But up here, it is awareness. That's all you have. Sometimes known as consciousness, but I was going to try and shave it and refine it a little bit tonight in a certain way, that you have awareness. It is a focusing or attention. It is you being conscious, but it's attention. Look at attention as being hungry, because you look around. You look around and you'll stare at something, you'll read a book, you'll overhear a conversation, you'll walk up to somebody, you look at a billboard. You're always doing something. You're feeding attention. You just never think about it that way. If you're not feeding attention, you are less than fully civilized. You're less than even developed up to the general parade level. So that is, you're normally talking to yourself in some way. The mind is active, as witnessed by the fact that you even dream. When your body goes to sleep, your mind keeps going like some kind of little creature in a video game, whatever it is, going chomp, 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 eating everything with the Tasmanian devil. The mind keeps on and on and on and on and on. So you've got awareness is like the hunger. It is like once you have become conscious, then you have attention. That is the proof that you are conscious. That is the proof that you are a human, that you're not simply a humanoid, that you have attention. And the only way that attention really exemplifies itself with ordinary people is, as I've put it other ways, you begin to talk. The mind works to the point that you have a vocabulary of some kind, and you're not just grabbing food, for instance, you can now talk about food. You not only can grab your neighbor's, that ox leg that he's eating, not only can you grab it from him, but if you become a bit more civilized, you can say, would you like to pass me that leg before I kill you? You can be civilized. You now have attention, and attention must be fed. For those of you that didn't seem to get it, which seemed to include, thankfully, everyone, that the way it normally works, if you're just being fed normal attention, is not unlike walking the dog and rocking the cradle. And I noticed that there are not enough of you that were serious athletes, evidently, to understand that, or else you did, and you still didn't understand it. All mystical systems are based upon focusing of attention. The obvious ones being trying to remember the name of God with each breath, trying to remember oneself, trying to remember objectively that I am here, trying to repeat one sacred word over and over and over, trying to do anything. They can sound to an ordinary ear, they can read to an ordinary historical, theoretically interested eye, they can read as though they're different. And they're supposed to. They have to keep rehashing this. That is part of the cannibalism of the parade, or people would not continue it. They have to take, if we said that one of the oldest, let's say in the Western world, is remembering being aware of each breath. Let's say that's one of the oldest in the West, one of the oldest. Then one of the newer versions is, the way it was been termed and put into English in the last 60 or 70 years, was to continually remember oneself rather than remember one's breath. And it sounds as though it's different, and it's supposed to be. Or else those who would have been the weekend warriors, the weekend would-be mystics, if all they had left or all they had available was something that was 4,000 years old, it's like, Jesus, bell bottoms went out 20 years ago. I can't wear these. But we got new styles. They're no longer bells. They're draped. They are now. So you call it something else. But what I want you to see is, no matter what it is, all prayer, all meditation, all forms of Zen, every form of mystical effort, no matter what it is called, if it qualifies to you, if you can sense that, yes, that was a group of people attempting to blow their consciousness into a new orbit, into a new space. It's the very thing Buddha and everyone's talking about. Whichever one you've ever heard about or thought about and thought, that was it, they were close. Go back and think about it a second, and it's all based upon each person involved with it focusing their attention. That's it. That's first. Secondly, that they never get to. And so I'll do it for them. For you, not them. Because they'll never even send me a card. They won't thank me. Fat chance. What, my birthday and all coming up. That's right, it's my bar mitzvah. God damn. Well, at any rate, got a little behind. And the first thing is, you have got to focus attention. The second thing that they never get to is this. Then it's got to be focused on something. And what they do, of course, they never analyze the second step. And I'll tell you why in just a second. Or maybe I should tell you now. They never get to that step because those involved can't ever do it. And so you're left with a method. If they start out, let's make up some you can consider this as either a retelling of a 6,000-year-old mystical group you never heard of, or a brand new one just starting now. Just starting now in some area of Turkestan, now that they have a little bit more freedom and can afford to lay their own concrete. And that the method, the system says, first off, that we're not as conscious, we're not as complete as we could be. Men are not all they could be. And you go, a few people show up, yeah, okay. What we've got to do, because we're not going to change that much physically, we're not going to spend our time playing with our diet and etc. And you go, okay. They go, because man's potential has got to be here. We'll assume that they're up to that point, that they're no longer keep pointing down here. That, yeah, it's up here. The higher part of the nervous system, which is, of course, what the soul actually represented. I keep sort of trying to distract you that they've all these years been talking about spirit and soul and pointing down here. That what they were trying to point at was somewhere higher up the nervous system than the stomach and the sex organs. But let us say the system says what we've got to do is develop man's nervous system in the higher areas. And you go, okay. And it says, and to do that, we're going to grab. Well, I shouldn't have to try to make up something extremely unusual. We're going to have to focus attention. They just call it the FA method. That's it. And they say we're just going to bypass all the extrinsics. It doesn't matter right now whether you smoke, drink, or whether you pray to anybody, or whether it doesn't matter. If you really want to do something extraordinary, what you have got to do is focus attention. Well, it should be FAC. Focus attention constantly. But that would have gone without saying once you started anyway. And I could stand there if I was playing the part for this fictitious organization and say, right now, just try and focus your attention. Be aware of the fact that there you are. You can feel your body. Don't spend any great time on that. We're not some kind of Southern California psychological feely group, but just be aware. All right, here I sit. All right, here I stand. Okay. Nothing particular going on. I'm not standing on nails. I'm not bleeding. My ulcer's not acting up. My head's not hurting. Okay, here I am. Now, what am I? Besides all those internal subtle noises and passing hungers and desires, what am I? What I seem to be is up here. What I seem to be personally, individually, if there is any potential for me to actually be a unique individual person, then I feel it up in here. Okay, so it's in my mind, it's in my brain. And what normally goes on? I would present to the crowd. I say, what normally goes on? And if they went, well, I don't know, my mind just runs on here and there. I go, okay, that's good enough. In other words, it just kind of rambles on. Yeah, it does. Did you hear that? And everybody turn around. And I say, well, all right, see, there you go. Well, no, it came from over here. I'll assume that they were sharp enough to follow the point of all that. I say, are you aware of the fact then that you are conscious? What everybody else calls conscious. You're a human, yes. But you understand that what your consciousness, your attention, it just bounces around just here and there. You've made it through life, but it just kind of bounces around that you can. As some of you know, you can drive your camel home on the middle of the freeway there next to all the other camels doing, nowadays, 17, 20 miles an hour. And you can actually just be there and almost in a trance. And just every now and then maybe something snap you out of it. You don't normally think about it being a particularly questionable state until somebody's camel maybe cuts you off in front or they don't pull in their blinkers. And suddenly you go, whoo! And it's like your attention is very focused. You go, yeah. I think, all right now, can you sort of bring that on? Can you bring on just the feeling of, I'm taking all the intellectual attention I can, all the energy, and I'm just going to pull it right into my eyes right here, and I'm going to hold it as though there was some sort of little mechanism up here, some sort of little organ that anatomy doesn't know about, medical science doesn't know about, but I can sort of put all the energy right there and just focus it. I can just hold it. For no reason now, but I can just bring it there right quick and hold it as though something exciting, something almost dangerous, or something extremely exciting has happened to catch my attention, and it's just brought there, but I'm going to do it myself. The right kind of people can get a sort of buzz. They can get a little experience and go, And if I encouraged it, but enough of you have probably been through it, I don't have to keep doing that, but if I did it once or twice, and I said, all right, let's try it a little more, and I could make up the example and stretch out a little bit further, but enough of you have, and I can say, all right, think about times you've had that were really dangerous before, that you almost had a car wreck, or you thought you were dying, et cetera. And yeah. Can you feel that kind of attention focused? And it almost heightens the feeling of being alive. And you go, yeah. And then what if I said, all right, that is the step. That is the direction of all forms of enlightenment, being more awake, being more conscious. That is it. That it's up to just children. It's just fairy tales. It's taking the physical reality, which it was myth, and now ordinary people have turned it into literal practice. That is, they think that they must actually pray to a God, or it's got to be some sort of gift, that it just comes from nowhere. That in some way, these great secret forces, or the gods, normally as they're called, will take a man, if he prays enough, he contributes enough to the religious or mystical organization, if he does enough physical, ritualistic if he pursues enough faithfully the physical rituals of the system, that in some way maybe they'll suddenly go boom, and it will be this, suddenly I'm blown away. That I am, now I understand what Buddha said, my nervous system is somewhere else. It's still in me, but in the nervous system, I am now somewhere else in the nervous system. Heretofore, I was only up to here, I was only over here, and now I have gone somewhere else. Forget Cape Canaveral in the space program. I personally have gone somewhere else in here. I could get many of the people who would be interested enough to show up originally to my call, that I could get them to just hold their attention, just focus your attention right now. Just try and just put all the energy you got in your brain, forget any kind of strange mystical or occult or religious or spiritual terminology you've ever heard. Just feel that your brain is full of electrical energy and you're trying to pull it all into one place just for a moment. Just hold it. And people go, I can get many people. Well, you're supposed to. I say I get many people. Everybody who has any potential would go, But, see, that would be the first thing. And I could do it. But the second thing is, you've got to focus it on something. Now this is where ordinary mysticism, I know it sounds silly, and the real thing, which ordinary mysticism to ordinary people, they think, well, ordinary mysticism is not ordinary to begin with. You know, it's weird and spectacular and spooky and probably nuts anyway. But the ordinary, the publicly known, the common forms of it, they ignore the second part. They never get past the first part of, all right, we've got to focus attention. I'm just wrapping up, as I said, all of their methods, all of the attempted sitting meditations, even moving meditations or whirling, dancing, whatever it is, it's an attempt to focus the attention constantly. They cannot do it, those involved that you hear about, because if they could do it, you wouldn't hear about them. But those that publicly try it, write about it, support it, trying to continue it, cannot do it. So therefore, they don't have to get to any second step. Even if someone said, well, there's a step beyond attempting to focus your attention, and even if you grab some would-be leader of some spooky group, and he thought, well, maybe he knows something I don't, and he might go, well, that's true, but we haven't mastered the first part, including him. And so they're safe. But they keep working on the inconclusive, they keep working on the method that no one can successfully complete. But beyond that, even though they do not analyze it in the way I'm saying, that the first step is to focus attention. And then the second step is it's got to be focused on something, even though they never get to that point. They do indirectly. So what they end up de facto doing is you focus your attention on the methods or on the system. I understand you're a follower of that XYZ focus your attention mystical school. Well, yes, I am. How's it going? God, I am so thankful. If I had not found that system, I do not know. I would probably still be drugs. I could be alcohol, could have killed me. I was going crazy. It has meant the world to me. Well, can you that's the place that says that the whole idea is to constantly be able to personally focus your attention. Yep, that's us. Well, can you do it? Well, no. You know, it comes and goes. Some days better than others. But you can't do it, no. But you're still in favor. Oh, yeah. Oh, they're on the right track. There's no doubt about that. And just the efforts, and even times when I fail, it's almost successful. I mean, I feel like I'm not wasting my energy. You understand what I'm doing? See where he's focusing the attention?
Yeah.
Well, at least you missed the point. I'll go back to a cruder example. It's like, what's important to you in life? And a man says, well, my religion. Well, what are you? I'm a Christian. Well, can you actually live, or I'm a Jew, whatever. And you say, well, can you actually live by the Ten Commandments or by the teachings of the church? Well, no, but that's why I'm a Christian. I am focused on the system. But they all start out the original intent, which is life's intent. It's not just a few mystics around on the planet. It's life's intent to increasingly focus man's attention, which is what I oftentimes call the continuing progress of the parade, the expansion of consciousness in general. But it works at such a speed that it doesn't do a real anxious person any good. They de facto, without it being specifically pointed out, they end up focusing their attention on the method. Even though they can't do it, even though it cannot be completed, even though they cannot successfully do it. And I'll give you two choices. It's all the same thing, but so that you don't reach a dead end. You first must focus the attention, and secondly, even though they don't get to number two specifically, you must focus it on something. That if some of you could do it, then you must focus it on something. The ordinary ends up focusing it on the method to focus attention /or the system itself, which is a little thing I just went through a couple of minutes ago of you're asking a person who's a follower of a system whose main method or whose sole method is focus the attention, and you say, can you do it? And they go, no. And you go, well, do you still like the system, or do you still, it's like asking somebody who's a faithful churchgoer, a good Catholic, say, well, can you actually live by Jesus' teaching or by the church's teaching? They go, well, no, but nobody can. In other words, you say, well, does it make you feel any less of a Christian, or do you sometimes go up to the church door and think, fully on this, or they're not helping, I can't do it, they didn't know what to do, and I can't do it, it's a waste of time. People go, well, heavens no. That's getting close to serious blasphemy. It's just ridiculous to the ordinary mind. Because, and now back to an extended level of that, into what I was calling the mystical. Those who attempt to focus their attention, how about people who will spend a large part of their life in some system of meditation? People who will actually withdraw from life and join some group of people, and they sit for hours a day, 7 days a week, no time off, and they'll come up with some description, but they would even accept. Their places right now, always have been. If I say, well, what you're trying to do in a sense is focus your attention. And they'll go, yeah, but then they won't say, but according to Buddha, according to Guru so-and-so, or so-and-so, which they're supposed to, but they go, yeah, that's what we're doing. Kind of in a way, yeah, because if we do that, then it will, boom. Then they got to fill it in with something. Then Buddha will smile on me. Then God will bring me into a higher level of awareness or something. But they would go, yeah, we're trying to focus attention. I guess you could say that. But if you, see, they always have to have something behind it. If I say, well, to what avail? To what point even should you succeed? And then they'd say, well, it's to reach Buddha consciousness, or it's to become Christ conscious. It is to become, whatever. That there has to be a point to it. But even though when you say, well, can you do it? No. Do you ever know anybody who's done it? No. But they think no less of the system because they are now caught up. They're attempting to focus their attention. If they're, to whatever degree they're seriously trying to be a good Jew, Catholic, Muslim, or to the same degree that they're attempting to reach Buddhahood, to reach enlightenment through some less public, through some more specific mystical group. They're all starting off attempting to focus their attention. The Christians and all, they say there's a purpose. I'm trying to focus my attention, pull away from worldly matters into godly matters. Pull away from the secular world into the clerical world, into the holy world, the spiritual world. The difference between that sort of ordinary mysticism is, even after they once undertake the method, once they undertake the undertaking of trying to focus their attention, then they ignore the second question of, or the second part, that it must be focused on something, if you could do it. Then it just becomes watery, it becomes vague, it becomes inspecific enough so as to not distract them, that they now simply, since they can't be a good Christian, they're satisfied with being a Christian. Since I cannot focus their attention, then I'm satisfied on the basis that, hey, I'm trying to. And I attend the meetings. I go to the meetings where other people attempt to do it. That at least I know the method. I can't do it all the time. Well, I can't do it hardly at all. But at least I went and I learned the method. You should go there. The guy, he speaks so forcefully, he can describe it to you, and he'll make you sit there and go, focus your attention and go, ooh. And he said, doesn't it make you tingle? And I tingled. And he went, well, doesn't it make your mind sort of feel keener? And it felt keener. In other words, you're all in favor of it. Oh yes, there's no doubt. This is what I've been looking for, but you can't do it. No, but I'm trying. At least I found what I should be doing. That is ordinary mysticism. The real thing is this. You got to be focused on freedom, not on a system, not on a method. You got to be focused once you can do it. That you start off the same way with the real thing, no matter what it's called, which the real thing's never called anything. Thank you. Thank you. You got to focus your attention. That is the method of methods. There is no other method. I can describe it other ways, but they're all the same. It's focus the attention. Then the second part is you got to focus on something, and the real version of this is you focus it on your own intellectual independence, on freedom, not on a method, certainly not on a system. That is why I so often kick around the word partisan and etc. Because you're not reacting to life. You're not reforming life. You're not repairing life. That's the way to tell if you're still ordinary. That's the way to tell that you're still sane. That man needs repair. And I've tried to kick you all in your, at least you men and you women figuratively, in your combination private, very touchy parts, twice in the last 2 tapings, of saying that every criticism, every fault you can find with man, wherein he needs to be repaired, is both well-deserved and totally unfounded. It's both. It's meaningless, except to ordinary people, and they must talk about it. It's useless and meaningless, but it's necessary. When you're caught up into the system, when it's based on what I'm now referring to as ordinary mysticism, starting out again, since we all like theatrics, you must focus the attention, and you must focus it on something. The second part is, people, even without knowing it, they focus it on the fact that since I can't do the first, at least I'll be a sincere supporter thereof. That is, since I can't be a real Muslim, a slave of God. That is, a slave of God, that is the highest part of controlled consciousness, and I would be, instead of a slave to the yo-yo, instead of that my consciousness is rocking the cradle around the world, that I have got it, I am now a true Muslim. Since I can't do that, then here's what I'll do. By God, I'll attend the mosques faithfully and I'll pray. In other words, I'll be a darn good Muslim since I can't do it. Since I cannot execute the method, that is, focus the attention, I will focus my attention on the method that tells me to focus my attention. By God, I'm getting somewhere. Thank God I found this. You are, I know it can sound harsh, but you have become simply a new slave. No, not really, because it doesn't hurt ordinary people. But if you're attempting to do something, to focus the attention, you cannot be partisan. To focus the attention, it is not that you're straightening out life. To focus the attention is to focus it nowhere. And it's so tricky to start out because everything in life, everywhere you turn, it seems to be well-deserved. At any particular time that you can look around and there's something there in the midst of life, the middle of the general parade, that is horrendous, despicable. It just begs, it deserves at least some comment of, how can people be so uncivilized? How can people be so thoughtless? It is both that, and it's both a sure sign that you cannot focus your attention. Your attention is just bounced from it. My God, can you believe that? Huh, I'll bet you they're not Catholic. Where's the police when you need them? I was telling them, what was I telling my... It almost passes for focused attention, unless you understand that all it is walking the dog around the world. See? Oh, Jesus, finally. Pages 6, 8, 10, 12. They're alternated, which I bet some of you figured that out. 6, 8, 10, 12. I'll reread them. Life reminds the body to stay alive through hunger, and the intellect through attention. Physically, a man's health is his health. Mentally, his awareness. If life holds your attention, life holds you. Life reminds the body to stay alive through hunger, and the intellect through attention, and attention has but one food: awareness. If physically the quality of health depends on your diet, then mentally it depends on your awareness. All right, it is dirty pool without any doubt. For instance, to say if life holds your attention, life holds you. That could make a whole sermon. I could start a mystical system on that one thing, which is just simply a redoing, and it would lead immediately into focusing your attention. Or in this case, if I was going to use that as the opening call to try and stir up some kind of new mystical group, and I said, if life holds your attention, life holds you, then I'd start using attention instead of the word, holds your attention, rather than focus your attention. If I say, all right, if life holds your attention, that is, if you walk around and go, by God, look what people are doing. Look at, oh, that's horrible. If life does that, if life holds your attention, yes, then life holds you. Now, I get many people. Not enough that you couldn't start a real good religion. You'd never put the Catholics or the Jews or anybody out of business. But for a second, it gets people, because it gives them just simply something new to rail about. If life holds your attention, but ordinary people, if they heard that, they would take life as being the despicable sides. That is, the people who do things I disapprove of. But if I say, if life holds your attention, which is the intrigue of bad news, if you say, all right, does life hold your attention? If life holds your attention, you know, yeah. If they'd been listening to some of this right quick, and they go, yeah, I know what you mean. That is, if the things that people do, if life holds your attention, that is, there's nothing internally in you, there's nothing with any independence. You don't have any internal stability. You don't have any sort of internal freedom to look upon things in any sort of objective manner. Okay? So if things are arranged where life just holds your attention, and they immediately understand bad news, if it's going to hold your attention, because nobody notices great things. I mean, it's all you can do. An ordinary person will go, isn't that a beautiful sunset? Oh yeah, it's going to rain though. Well, that's all you can do. Well, look at that beautiful flower. Yeah, but don't step in that dog shit. I mean, to say something, life does not hold people's attention on a non-negative basis. It simply does not. What do people discuss? We've been all through this. It's just the way things are. So, I could say, if life holds your attention, life holds you. And people would go, for a while, they go, oh, that's heavy. Oh. But it's dirty. Because life's supposed to hold your attention. This is not anything wrong. Well, if you're ordinary, if you're satisfied with it. If life holds your attention, life holds you. It is also dirty on another basis, of course, that life holds you. It doesn't matter what you do. You can be Buddha. You can reach the state of Buddha, and you're still going to die and rot. There's no way out. It doesn't matter who you are. It slays everybody. It's just it. It's just dreams. It's just part of the genetic system. Well, didn't mean to get into it, but some of you sure have figured out it's the genetic core of life itself, knowing that the brain's not going to stop. And since you've got a dream, since the mind's going to work, then people come up to simple-minded. Just the wrap-around outer core of life itself, the ordinary, then they start having dreams. Oh, when I die, I won't actually die. Yeah, when you die, you're going to die. That is the you that says, wait a minute, what if I die? Genes don't talk about dying. But anyway, it's kind of dirty to say if life holds your attention, it holds you. Life holds everybody's normal attention. Life holds normal people's attention. Life holds everybody, period. That is, you're born here and you're going to die here. Somewhere in the middle. Because you can prove it. I even threw in a little joke for those, if we had strangers walk in that think, well, you can't be in a different state of consciousness. Hell, drinking coffee proves it. All kinds of people. I'm talking about super ordinary people like our president, our prime minister, the heads of our churches. They get in the morning before they can have important thoughts and make decisions to control the lives and fortunes. The heads of the Federal Reserve and our banks, all the great people running the world, almost all of them have to get up and go, wait a minute. Let me have a cup of coffee. Give me a cigarette. Give me something. Nicotine, coffee, proves the fact that you can be more conscious than you are. You can be more alert. You can simply do it. You can do it. People know it. They know it through great, as I said, moments of fear and etc. There are little psychological experiments, even attempts at fairly routine meditation and etc. That people understand that their mind, they can fool their brain. They want to call it other things, mind and psychology and spirit and etc. But they know that you can fool your brain in a certain way. They don't take it any further. They don't have that great an interest in it. But it's a known, it's a given. But if it gets past the point of someone encouraging you or saying, would you like to do it actually personally, and to stick your hand there in that sloppy goo, it's all gooey, it's messy. And I was going to say, of course, it's got the electrical aspect. Of course, it's not going to shock you. It's not going to kill you. Of course, come to think about it, if any of you can stick your hand in your brain and the shock, the electrical charge is so much it does kill you, write me. I'd like to know. I might attend your funeral. Yeah, you might have been a worthwhile person. Well, potentially you were. It's too late now. Every one of the mystical systems, which were at some point the core of every known religion, it is the core of civilization. It is the core of the progressive march of civilization itself, is the continuing focusing of attention, which is another way to put on a general level, the expansion of consciousness. Because to be able to focus your attention, not to have it focus for you, not to, what? What the hell you mean? That's not focused attention. That's why I said, if life holds your attention, what'd you call me? Now you can say, of course, in the movies, and even writers attempt to do it when they're writing fiction, but how do you show that someone is focusing their attention? That something has actually happened, that they rush in and say, well, Mr. President or the hero, let me tell you what's happened. We got 20 of the guys up there on the hills, they're going to attack the city, and then we got 200 Indians over here, and the sheriff, it turns out, was once married to the guy that was here originally that said he's going to come down and tear the town down. What in the world we do? And he says, wait a minute. Tell the guys I'll be out, get all the townspeople, I'll be out in a second. And the music, no. And you see the hero go. And if not that, dig up Cecil B. DeMille, let him do another biblical epic. And they say, the Pharaoh coming, he's going to kill us all. And Moses says, wait a minute, give me a second alone. And he goes off behind a tree and goes. Or, if you don't like that, a soap opera. I've had enough of you, Martha. I'm not going to put up with this. This is the last time. You've slept with every family member I had. I've just had it. No, please. No, your begging won't do any good. And he leaves. And Martha goes. And everyone interprets that as being almost, I didn't mean to overdo it. Yeah, I did, probably. But the Moses, the hero, when he's faced with all these great decisions, a general, all right, here it is, the war, the outcome of the war depends upon our decision now. And they give him all the information. He goes, wait a minute, okay, I'll be right out. And he sits there and the camera shows. And it's this. And that passes, as it's supposed to. With ordinary people, it's neither here nor there particularly. But that passes, in a sense, for the focusing of attention. Concentration, I think they normally call it. But life has done it. Nothing unusual, nothing untoward. But if life is controlling your attention, if life is holding it, if life is making you focus your attention, that's not actually you focusing your attention. And, of course, ordinary people go, well, wait a minute. This focusing your attention might be all right, but you just named very important things in life that you've got to consider. What if your broker suddenly called you? What if you're sitting there trying to think mystical thoughts? And the phone rings and your broker says, do you know what the Federal Reserve has just done to the interest rates? And you go, what? A whole point. And so an ordinary person can say, that's important shit. Right, but you follow my little example. There you are meditating, thinking mystical thoughts. Ring. A point? That is not concentration. Oh yeah, I should call it concentration. That's for ordinary people. But that is not a focusing of attention. It's got nothing to do with you. It's only ordinary people that say, well, it does have something to do with me. And of course they're right. It's my money. Yeah, that's true. It's my love life. She walked out on me. Or it's people plotting against me, talking about me. What do you mean it doesn't have anything to do with me? This is important stuff. I know it is. But it's only ordinary people believe, well, wait a minute, this takes my attention. Now, wait a minute, wait. I got to take time out here. Now, I don't mind trying to meditate or have mystical thoughts or try and laugh, but wait a minute. The thing about investments, and this call from my broker, wait a minute, I'm going to have to take a time out. I mean, I've got to turn my attention. All right, you just said it. Oh, I've got to give this some serious attention. I know you do. That's not attention. That's not you giving attention. That's you living an ordinary life here. The focusing of attention, once it's the point that you know what it is actually synonymous with the mystical state, with enlightenment. It just doesn't sound very mystical. And you'd never put it that way, that if you could do it, because it then becomes what people normally think of as being mystical. But to focus your attention, since we're out of time, I just got to put it to you crudely, which religions keep fooling around the edges, and they just don't know how to say it. But the crude part is, when you focus your attention, personally, when you know how to do it, what everybody else calls important, everything in life, other than staying alive, and that's up to you whether you want to stay alive, you might say. But everything else, and that means all of civilization, everything, goodness, charity, decency, morality, anything, sports, investments, money, health, anything. After that, it's irrelevant. Because your attention is focused only on one thing, and that's your own independence up here. And independence up here is independence from life holding your attention. And how does life hold people's attention? Through bad news, through all the problems of life. But then again, there is no way out, because immediately sane people jump up and go, wait a minute, you're an idiot, you're crazy. I've got problems in life. I have just lost my investment. My girlfriend, my boyfriend just left me. And they got you. Or if you want to look at it from a mystic's way, they got them. Or if you want to look at it life's way, life looks down and goes, so. All is well. And life can snooze back off. To focus your attention is, and to actually do it. And to get to the second stage, to understand, all right, I know what I'm working on, but you've got to focus it on something. Which may give some of you more suspicion, if you need it, if you carry more, why this seems to be so unstructured. You know, no particular name, nothing to do, but there is something to do. I just let it go for years and I don't get back to it. It's the focusing of attention. And I just talk to sort of scatter your attention so it doesn't rest on any particular thing. But the time comes that you've got to go back and realize it yourself. If you don't, or I'm going to help you. The whole point is to bring your own, the goo, the electricity, the chemicals, in your brain, not in your soul, not in your spirit, in your brain, your individual brain. And what you're attempting to do is to grab them, what little you've got, all of us, and go into one, to condense it, and to hold it right there, and it's a whole different world. And out here, including you, there's still plagues, there's still inflation, it's still raining. But then when you can do it, you understand why it's hard for a mystic to really give much of a damn. Oh, they don't like to say it, and especially their followers after they're dead, they go, oh, what a caring guy he was. I mean, he was so concerned about what was going on in life. And it's a good thing, if you'll ever notice, if you're around, they will wait until they're sure that Buddha's dead. He's not going to pull on these things that those fake preachers down in Arkansas threaten to do, like come back to life in a few days. They wait until Buddha's been buried and somebody go back and kind of stomp on the ground, make sure he ain't going to come back up. And then they'll start the things about, God, I was around him right toward the end. I knew him well. He was so concerned about interest rates here because, well, he knew how many of you had been wiped out in the last big devaluation of the rupee here that struck through India. I mean, he was very concerned about kind of interest rates for new homes and new newlyweds. But they keep making sure that Buddha ain't coming back. They make sure he's dead before they start that. And they don't know what they're doing. But it's what a compassionate guy. Because that is, again, part of the system then to focus people's attention on something that's meaningless. That is something that will not actually contribute to them focusing their attention enough to disrupt the parade. To disrupt life's hold on your attention. I had something else to say, but I forgot what it was.